Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Climate change, it is real. It is human-caused, and it is something we can and must address. Alberta has so much to offer in helping the world innovate our way out of this problem. Some would have us believe the only option is to produce less oil. But yesterday, I talked about the work already underway in Alberta to decarbonize oil sands oil. To the Premier, do you agree that Alberta's contribution to tackling climate change shouldn't come from reducing production, but should come from increasing production of lower carbon oil?
The Honourable Premier.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I do agree with that, and that indeed is something that I've said in numerous speeches in a whole bunch of different places. That's exactly what our climate leadership plan is focused on doing, taking the carbon out of the oil, reducing the emissions while potentially, for sure, increasing the actual production. That's what our plan is modelled on. We've been talking about that for 2.5 years, and I'm pleased that the member opposite is aware of that.
First supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A California report showed that Alberta oil sands crude already has lower emissions than the Venezuelan and Nigerian heavy crudes it would displace. Alberta bitumen has 3 times lower carbon intensity than some Nigerian crude. And that was in 2015, before Alberta innovators started work on decarbonizing oil sands oil. Again to the Premier. Why haven't Alberta innovations been the cornerstone of your case for pipelines, and on your upcoming tour, will they be?
The Honourable Minister, Environment and Parks.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the fact of the matter is that it is this government that has invested in innovation, particularly in the oil sands, Mr. Speaker. In September, we put $50 million through Emissions Reduction Alberta, which is recycling of carbon revenues, Mr. Speaker, into an oil sands challenge, Mr. Speaker. We had, for that $50 million, $1.6 billion worth of interest, Mr. Speaker. The fact of the matter is that the energy industry in this province is ready to solve the problems of the future. It's too bad the Conservatives aren't.
Second supplemental.
Well, it's good news I'm not part of the Conservatives then, Mr. Speaker. Alberta has the best environmental track record in the world when it comes to oil and gas development, and this should be something that we are shouting from the rooftops. Now, with respect, while I agree that the economic argument is important, it also sounds like we only care about money. We're Albertans, Mr. Speaker. We also care about the environment. Again to the Premier, when you go on your pipeline tour, will you emphasize these essential truths about the environmental benefits of pipelines in addition to making the economic case?
Honourable Premier.
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, I would invite the member opposite to read some of the speeches that I've already given on the matter. This has always been a key part of the argument that we have made to people across the country, that in fact our energy industry is leading on this, and that in fact our climate leadership plan will invest in the ability to reduce the amount of emissions per barrel, and that in fact that the emissions cap is what is the fundamental cornerstone to that plan, Mr. Speaker. So again, I invite the member opposite to look at what we've already been talking about. This is exactly what the point we've been making for some.